That's gonna be us in, what, a few hours?
Why is the plane so empty?
It's because it's really old.
What?
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're gonna be just fine.
Oh my God. We're surrounded by water.
We're in an airlock. We're safe.
No reception? There's no one to save us down here.
Was that a shark?
What's a shark doing on a plane?
We're gonna have to find our own way out.
How long do you think we have?
We're sliding down, man!
We're running out of air.
Should we try to swim out the hole?
But what about the sharks?
Do you think we can make it out of here?
We have to try.
There's a hatch.
Look, they come to save us!
Turn around!
Welcome to Watch and Complain, episode 228.
You were going to say 222, weren't you?
No.
You probably were going to, because we were talking about, and I tried to interrupt him by saying 222.
Rob just really likes the number
And-
222. It comes up a lot.
222. No. You know what comes up? Oh, I don't have my mug. 666. I went to Toronto this weekend, and one of the stores we went to, I bought an Iron Maiden Number of the Beast mug. Makes you think.
Speaking of which, today on the show we are covering No Way Up.
So this movie was my choice. I saw a trailer for it somewhere, and I was like, man, this looks awful. It looks like it has the potential to be like so bad it's good, like The Room or other movies like The Room. None are coming to mind.
Madam Web.
So bad that you have. Sorry, our screen's blanking out. That you have fun watching it. Parts.
That's the movie.
I will say there was a couple of parts where we giggled, like, all right, this is fun and stupid. But other parts
There was
were mostly just
very
stupid.
little amount of that. We made them more fun.
We taught. So we watched it as one of the first, if not the first movie, I think, that we watched in the movie room here. Have we ever done a movie in the movie room?
No, I don't think so.
So we watched it in the movie room on the streaming platform it was on, and in the start. So we're getting all set up. I got my big
oh God,
drink here that we won't say who it is. Phil will blur it all out. But it's too large for the cup holders in my chairs. So when I was leaning back in my chair, it fell, and so had to clean all that up.
Oh, you didn't even explain. It just went.
Yep, and
It was a fountain everywhere. And I was just sitting there going.
That happens a lot in that room, if you know what I'm saying. So that happened. And then in the movie, because I didn't know anybody's names, because Annoying White Dude
We'll get there.
was because Annoying White Dude was being a dick to the flight attendant. The flight attendant opens a pop and then spills a pop on him by accident. That was like within a couple of minutes, or a couple, I'd say like under a minute of my pop falling over. So that was quite comical. The comedy was rife.
That's it. That was that.
Yep, that's what
the
I'm saying.
movie.
I
Your-
think
your
the
machine
screen
needs some
is
work.
it distracting you?
I don't care. As long as the audio keeps going, we're good.
This is exciting to hear about the screen blanking.
This is gonna be one of those 2 views episodes because no one cares about No Way Up.
Holy moly,
and
no one
you
should.
shouldn't. Yeah. Characters from different backgrounds are thrown together when a bird strike causes their Oh, we're just going right into it.
Yep.
So what happened in the airport?
So, in this airport,
This was a setup.
man, I'd love to be in an airport like this that had maybe 11 people in it. I've been at airports at every time of the day. I've been there at 1 o'clock in the morning. I've been there at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've been there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Airports are always littered with people. The only problem with going to an airport, and anyone who's been there at these times of the day knows exactly what I'm talking about. When you're there at like 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, everyone is like kind of zombieing through the place. It's just, but it's never not busy. It's always packed with people. So they're in this airport. I want to say maybe noon on the day. There's 11 people there, and
there's daylight for sure.
And girl says to Chief O'Brien, "You don't need to come with me if you don't want to. Do you really want to come with me?" And we were thinking Chief O'Brien was her dad.
Yeah.
And then she has two friends with her who are younger. I want to say arguably metrosexual-ish guys that you didn't know if one of them was her boyfriend or if they were boyfriends or.
It was put out there that maybe it's my assumption talking, but it seemed like there were just two dudes.
Yeah, but my point is, the movie was wonderfully and absolutely bland.
Yeah,
like you had
none of this matters.
None of it mattered. And then there's an old couple who the guy's wearing a veteran's hat. And he's wearing a veteran shirt, and he's wearing the American pen, and he's a veteran, so he veteraned.
Yeah.
And everyone thanked him for his service.
Mr. Veteran.
Him and his wife, their granddaughter was with them.
For some reason. We didn't pay attention.
Yeah. And we were, needless to say, too, we're the wrong people to be reviewing this, because we were talking through this entire fucking movie and making fun of it. So much so that stuff would come up later on in the movie, and we're like, well, when was that ever set up? And then you were like, well, maybe it was set up when we were talking. I'm like, it's definitely true.
Like the scuba outfits, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll fucking get there.
How the hell did that happen?
Basically, this movie is, okay, it is like a video game. It's basically, okay, if we do this and then get to this and then get to this and then get to this, and then we've got to swim upwards while the plane is falling so we can dodge all the different fucking things. It was a video game movie. So yeah, they're flying, and the girl looks outside, and I guess a bunch of birds go into the engine.
I missed that completely.
Well, planes are designed to deal with this.
Yeah.
Right? So, one, what the fuck kind of bird is that high up above the clouds? I didn't realize that there were, like, I understand it's when the plane is going up and plane is going down. Like, that's when they expect the birds to be sucked into the engine. But when you're up above the clouds flying, what fucking birds are going to be up there?
All I saw was
Pegasus,
this
maybe.
Engine slowly breaking apart. Like, it was rumbling at first.
Didn't see how they hinted at, like, a little bit of gore on the outside of the engine?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be birds that flew into it.
That makes no sense because it was already rumbling before.
Not to mention that they're above the clouds. I don't think any maybe I'm wrong, and bird people will know far more than me, but I don't think any birds go above the clouds.
I didn't see a bird in this movie, so they couldn't afford it.
I whipped out my bird, but it's a dark room, that movie room, so Phil couldn't see. These are tight pants, too, so it's easier to see in.
Characters from different backgrounds are thrown together when a bird strike causes their plane to crash into the Pacific Ocean. Both pilots, along with several other passengers, die in the crash. The remaining survivors...
No, hold on. How many people are... So this is a massive 747 plane.
It's big.
It's got three beside the window. I want to say four or five in the middle. Was it 3 and 3 or was it...
I think so.
I thought it was
right?
I thought it was 3 on the one side, 5 in the middle, 3 on the other side.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I can't remember. Maybe it was 3 and 3, but it was a big fucking plane. I think it was like a 747
so I
plane.
thought they just had that main aisle down the way, and they were just trying to get...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
But it was a lot of room.
Yeah.
And then when they were inside doing like all the stunt work on the water type thing, it shrunk.
But there's 11 people on this plane. Now, I don't think a plane is going to take off when there's only 11 people, unless it's like a private plane.
They do. They have to meet their quota or something.
Oh, that's right, with flight hours. That's right. But the point is, there's like 11 people on this plane, and they go up and whatever.
The remaining, there was only like 3 people who died in the front.
There was veteran died.
The Murrays.
the Murrays died.
One
and
of them
then,
is the veteran. But
And then a guy, yeah, there was Murray veteran, brother Murray. And then there was, remember the Asian dude who was a mannequin?
was it the chomp? The chomp?
I think he was, but it's when you see the part of Chief O'Brien swimming forward, and there was a guy that was like, "Oh."
There was a
That-
guy that got hit by the domino seats.
Oh yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. Who cares?
The remaining
The
survivors.
movie had a lot of who cares.
The remaining survivors: Ava, the daughter of a prominent politician, and her boyfriend.
Oh yeah,
Jed.
not to mention when they're at the airport, and she's looking at him, and the guy's like looking at her, and she's like, "Yeah, the governor is my dad."
How would you
Oh.
know that?
Right? Like that's like someone looking at me, going, you look familiar." Yeah, you probably know my dad, who was he was a governor, and then this guy goes like, "I voted for him."
Like, thanks.
Okay,
Can you check my stuff, please?
but I guess maybe she's been okay, and I'll say maybe she's been on TV beside her dad.
Yeah, maybe she's
I
a
guess. I don't
socialite.
know.
Who
And
knows?
you know what? We're not American, and in Canada, the mayors. There's only I would never recognize the mayor of Kingston. Right? No idea what this person looks like.
I would. I know who it is.
Yeah, but
because I work
have
at a
no idea.
prominent building that.
But I
has
lived
them.
I lived in Brampton for a big part of my life. I would not recognize the mayor of Brampton. The only one I recognize is mayor of when Robb Ford was the mayor of Toronto, and Hazel McCallion because she's a billion years old when she was the mayor of Mississauga. Those are and I wouldn't recognize Hazel McCallion. Look at her. I could walk by her in the street. Oh, it's fucking
Imagine
old
you
bitch.
saw Doug Ford in public
But
stuffing his face with something.
would you know it was Doug Ford, or would you think it's just another fat person?
No, you'd recognize
I think
Doug
you'd
Ford.
recognize Trudeau because we see fucking Trudeau ever or Jagmeet Singh or
Well, you
Pierre
could.
Poilievre,
You
whatever his
couldn't
name is.
not because he's got people following him, and he's got
I just-
people going, "Oh,
I wouldn't-
it's Trudeau."
I wouldn't look at a person and go, huh. Like I wouldn't look at Trudeau's kid and go,
I have that other effect where I keep my head down and I just don't want to deal with people, and I would just completely miss them. And I'm sure that
that makes
happens.
more sense.
You'd probably be in public, and I wouldn't notice you because I'm like tunnel vision the whole time.
cockeyed is what he's looking for.
I just don't like people.
Cock guy.
The remaining survivors, Ava and her boyfriend Jed,
Jed.
Jed's friend Kyle,
Oh,
a young girl named Rosa
sure.
traveling with her grandparents, Ava's personal bodyguard Brandon.
I didn't know. The only person whose name I heard get mentioned
yeah.
was Brandon. I heard it say Brandon's name, but everybody else, they might have been saying their
Would it
names.
kill-
I never
would it-
fucking
would they
noticed.
kill them just to call him O'Brien? Everyone knows him by O'Brien.
Brandon
Like, come
O'Brien.
on.
And
the attendant Danilo.
Danilo.
Danilo?
Okay.
It
Now,
might be pronounced a different way. Who knows?
This what's his name? Kyle. Kyle is obnoxious from minute one,
my
and you're
God.
like, oh my fuck, this guy's got to die. Thankfully,
And
he
not
does.
even like in an overly like what's the word
like silly way,
like a not grad
like a grad. Yeah,
a
grads are
college
annoying.
student who is like over the top, who's in a fraternity, like a frat dude. You'd expect that from him, like, oh my god, let's go, yeah,
like douchey bro.
yeah.
No, he was more just like catty asshole. You struggle with every character to know who is this character for, who in the audience identifies with that person.
Find themselves trapped inside of an air pocket at the rear of the fuselage as it sinks to a rock base underwater.
Okay. I'm not even going to get into how none of
Science.
this makes sense,
It's ocean science,
but
Let's
none
go.
of this makes sense. You might be in an air pocket
Yeah.
for maybe, I want to say minute and a half, 2, 3. Okay.
It's a big air pocket. Come on.
I'll say, yeah, but I'll be
You've seen
generous.
the movies where they get
5
stuck,
minutes.
They get stuck inside a safe or something. You can get stuck inside a safe for a while. It's not going to be 5 minutes.
Hey, you know what? You know what's not in it? How about you get stuck in that fucking safe and then I throw it in the ocean?
Well, that's going to be.
How long is your air pocket
Your
going to be
air is going to be
there?
the same whether you're going to be there or there. It's just the pressure that's different.
But there's going to be water coming into the safe.
Well, there wasn't water well, there was water in the plane, but it was stuck in a certain point because of the air. The air bubble has some pressure with it. It pressures the water to stop where it's going. If there was a way for the air pocket to disperse on the other side, then it would, and then the water would flow in.
So this air pocket would be an air pocket for about a generous 5 minutes, and then they'd drown and be dead.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the science.
Okay. Well, why don't you go research the fucking science?
Okay, I'll be right back.
Then you come back and you've got like gray hair and a beard.
So, we've been off the podcast for 30 years. I figured it out.
I did murder a bunch of people to sink a plane.
Well,
But you have to sink it in
they
shark-infested
could
water.
have survived if they tried.
All right. Also, I want to see in here if it talks about the octopus that you magically saw that
That
no
was
one else
crazy.
in our movie room saw except you.
When I see water, I see octopods.
Octopods. Those are the things that Tide makes that you throw into your laundry. They're made of octopus.
They have 8 of them
guts.
at once. It's for a big load.
Oh, I got a big load that I'll throw in you.
At first, Brandon takes charge, telling the survivors they must stay put and await rescue. On his way to retrieve an oxygen tank from the front of the submerged
hat.
plane, a large shark attacks Brandon through the opening in the side of the fuselage.
A large shirk.
Shark. That's how you say it in Portugal.
Shirk.
Isn't that where they went? No, Turkey.
Yep.
Same
oh, yeah.
place.
So on the inside of this plane, there was a, and you know, it probably might have been a real plane that they had ripped the side off of that they bought for super cheap.
Or it's in the script they are going to Turkey and they had to change the signage
But they were
for
going
that.
to Cabo.
Cabo's in Turkey.
Is it?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, see? Look at that. You could have lied. You could have acted like they didn't
I'm
do in
sure
this movie.
Cabo is Mexico.
But I didn't even forget my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So they're looking at this, and above the exit sign,
If we had-
it says like Isotin or something. I'm like, what fucking language is that? So he looked up and yeah, it was Turkey. I'm so like, oh, so clearly they filmed this movie in Turkey.
Hey, Google.
Stop asking Google to do things. The one
Where-
from my bathroom is going to hear you.
Where is Cabo?
Cabo San Lucas, Baja California Sur, Mexico is 3,853
Mexico.
kilometers.
I was right.
You said fucking Spain.
And then Turkey. And then I went with Mexico as my final answer.
Okay.
I phoned a friend.
Google. What happens next? I'm dying to know.
He manages to
Oh, Brandon.
Brandon, yeah, O'Brien.
O'Brien. Yeah.
He manages-
Brandon O'Brien.
To escape back to where the survivors are waiting, but is soon dragged back underwater by the shark so that they can get rid of him and not pay as much for him.
So he went for, okay, let's try to remember what
oxygen
Brandon went
tank.
for. An oxygen tank that had no oxygen in it? I think. I
That
can't
I'm
remember.
unclear with because I thought that
And-
was somewhere else.
And veteran hat.
Yeah, the oxygen tanks with no oxygen in them were in with the scuba gear in the back compartment. That
And-
was different.
Did they know, and you and I were talking, so we'd probably miss this, and it's clearly so with this person, that's why they didn't describe it. Did people get on at the front who were going to be going scuba diving? That's how they knew there would be.
Yeah, I guarantee you, if we went back and watched it, one of the check-in people, they would have had like a small little thing, quick glance.
Or
at-
maybe there was only 11 people on the
scuba
plane. Maybe
divers.
they were all just chatting.
They're
Oh,
all
I'm a
dressed
scuba
in their
diver.
scuba gear, just checking in their stuff. It's really
And
obvious.
the good thing is they saw that, okay, there's a skinnier, what would you say,
Little
Puerto Rican
person?
gentleman.
Oh no. Okay.
Then there was a skinnier, pale white dude. Then there was a not large-breasted, but average-breasted
Those weren't average.
young woman. They were average. And then they had a little person.
A little, yeah. Just
Because
in case.
luckily, yeah, exactly, because every now and then.
You never know. Maybe they were a safety team that had to have the extra suits.
That maybe that little person was the one that rescued kids, like little kids. Or other little people.
Or maybe they were just selling suits.
Right? And they were like, dude, buy 3, get one for a little person. Or
One-
sorry, buy 3, get one for a little
Get
person.
one half
free.
off.
That's awful. Idiot.
That's going on TikTok. Kyle's arm is severely injured in the crash.
Somehow.
It just looks like there's a chunk taken out of his arm that's like
That's
got
not true.
this
It looked like
mold.
someone took some makeup and
Yeah.
went plop. Just like that. Like literally, hey, okay, here's a little like torn up skin. Just plop.
That's
right
how
there.
it works, but usually it's blended in better and made to look more realistic.
It looked awful.
This was like a bloom and then a chunk taken out of that bloomp. We call it a bloomp in
But
the
then,
industry.
like, you're like, okay, all right, let's have some panic. But really, it's like, my arm.
Well, at first he didn't react to it because he's in
Right.
shock.
but then she's like, oh, your arm. Oh man, my arm.
That's when you realize. Yeah.
Is it supposed to hurt this bad? Wow, what a crappy flight. Oh no, remember he says, I don't want to die because I want to give them a bad Yelp review. And you're like, is this the time for jokes? And even worse, is this the time for bad jokes? Like if you're going to do
the
a
whole
joke,
movie is bad jokes.
do a good joke.
Kyle's arm is severely injured in the crash, and the girl's grandmother, Marty Nana, and the girl's grandmother, Marty Nana, a former army nurse, treats it in the aft gallery,
and she said
with a makeshift splint.
That she was a nurse in Afghanistan,
Iraq.
I'm sorry. That's right. She said Iraq. And the Iraq War was, I believe, in the mid-90s, right?
It was a Bush thing.
Right. But that lady looked, and I'm sure she's a very,
old,
good, nice lady. She looked older.
But you could
How old was she in the Iraq War?
Maybe she has been in the war since older war.
She's been in the war since older war.
Vietnam War.
Yeah, all the time that
World War II
that we spent in Iraq during the
Afghanistan.
Vietnam War.
No, I'm saying since.
Remember in Vietnam, they're like, "Hey, where were you stationed in the Vietnam War?" Iraq.
No, I'm not saying at once. I'm saying maybe she had been in the army since then.
Do you remember being in Nam? I do. I was the nurse. Iraq.
the one nurse.
I was in the Iraq War in Vietnam.
That's not what I said.
That makes me laugh.
That's not what I said.
Yes, it is.
Meanwhile, a rescue crew arrives by helicopter to search for the missing plane, which you can't see anywhere.
Yes, you can.
Because it's an ocean.
No.
The remaining...
what joke did I say?
It was a bad joke.
You need to repeat it. If you're gonna
I don't even know.
If you're going to repeat your ableist...
You were just like, it's an ocean. I bet they can find it in an ocean.
Because they're going to look in a...
Ocean.
They're going to look in a Pacific part of the ocean.
The remaining survivors argue over what their next course of action should be, figuring they should do what Brandon would have done. They have the bracelets and everything.
Now,
Brandon being
I'll do
O'Brien.
a hypothetical. If you're in a plane that crashes into a Pacific Ocean,
Pacific
it's
one, and not
slowly sinking,
not random one,
and you're a smart person, so you know that this air bubble is going to last 5 minutes.
It's not 5 minutes.
What's the first thing that you do?
50 minutes.
The first thing you do is get the fuck out of the plane. Holy shit, are we alive?
Okay, we
Does
can't.
Does everything work? Yep, awesome. Right through.
We can't. There's sharks out there.
Okay.
I'm
going to drown.
What do you do next?
In the next 5 minutes that it takes for this air pocket to fill up, I'm going to drown. So I'm going to take my fucking chance of the sharks. I can't swim anyway, so the sharks are probably going to get me. But
all
then
you have to do
I'm
is
going to
this
get out.
motion.
But I would also be at another massive, what's the word I'm looking for? Another massive
erection.
A massive erection, because not only can I not swim, but we found out that the sharks are very racist and only eat white people.
Yeah.
That was kind of a weird thing to see. So I'd be fucked. So the point is, you would get out of the fucking plane. You wouldn't. You wouldn't chat with your friends.
Octopus, sharks.
You wouldn't
octopus sharks.
Get attacked by an octopus. You wouldn't go looking for scuba gear.
Sharktopus.
You would get out of the fucking plane. But I understand it's a...
How do you get up there without oxygen?
You drown or you swim upwards.
Well, you're let's see. How do I save myself out of the plane?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the options is drown.
Yeah.
You don't want that as an option.
That might be your only option. When your option is shit and shit, guess what you're choosing? Shit. So I can get eaten by a shark or I can fucking drown. Which would you rather do? I'd rather drown.
These aren't good options.
It's not about being good options.
They had other options. They figured it out. They had no way up, and spoiler, they got up. Some of them. Ava reasons they have 3 or 4 hours of air left before they run out.
How?
It's reasoning.
All these people are brilliant. Like if they were going to like a fucking,
I'm an engineer. I'm a Boy Scout.
if they were
I'm from
going
Portugal.
to like a Stephen Hawking, theoretical physicists camp, then I'd be like, oh, these guys are all
No,
geniuses.
but didn't Ted or something? Not Ted.
Jed.
Jed. Didn't he mention that? Remember that TED talk?
Probably. I don't know. I was talking to the old, but the point is,
and
like,
he's an engineer.
they're all geniuses.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Jed explains that eventually the structural integrity of the fuselage.
You know, when you're a jet, you stay a jet.
Jed explains that eventually the structural integrity of the fuselage will not hold and crush them inside.
So you're on a plane and you're in the water, and Jet says to you, Phil, structural integrity is going to break this plane. It's going to fall apart. What do?
But sharks.
I would say, Jed,
Shut the fuck up.
We're going to get out of this fucking plane right now. I'm going to swim down there and then go out the side.
What would O'Brien do?
Where's Keiko?
At that moment, the wreckage slides down the rock face, dragging them deeper into the ocean before coming to rest on the edge of a cliff leading into a dark abyss.
Wow. And it was so boring. Like, you're just watching.
You're just,
whatever.
yeah. It's like a little bit of vibration in their seat. Oh, okay, this is nice.
Hey, it's pretty good.
The survivors decide to leave the aircraft, and swim to the surface. Rosa explains that sharks are afraid of air bubbles, and they reason they can scare the sharks away with bubbles from their inflatable life vests.
Now, who is Ava again?
Wasn't that the kid?
Yeah, the little kid. I learned in school that sharks are afraid of bubbles. Now, what the fuck are you talking about in school where you're like, all right, so this is mathematics and 2 + 2 is 4. Also, sharks are afraid of bubbles. And also what we're going to get to next is multiplication. When does that ever come up as a fucking subject in school?
Well, sometimes you get projects and you get to do a project on whatever you want, right? So I was a kid that did projects on sharks, and I learned that if you punch a shark in the nose, it can cause them to run off with their legs on
And
land.
Sharks are also afraid of bubbles.
Yeah, so
You have to imagine the first guy that tested that out, though. He was just like,
great
bunch
shark.
of bubbles. And the shark's like, huh! Runs away.
It's like a mouse with elephants.
Yeah, exactly.
Elephants are afraid of
elephants
mice.
mice are extremely afraid of elephants.
That too. They're just both. They go in search of diving gear throughout the
Why?
plane. Well, because they noticed that someone was checking in diving gear for little people.
So you're on a plane, and this plane is slowly sinking into an abyss. You have 5 minutes of air left in your air pocket. Jed has said that the whole fucking fuselage is falling apart.
Yep.
Veteran's dead. Captain O'Brien or Chief O'Brien is dead. You've got annoying Kyle with you. You're like,
And you go, oh yeah,
fuck, you know what we need is a wetsuit.
those guys were checking in
Goggles.
those wetsuits.
Yeah.
Where would those be? And then the steward guy, stewardess,
Daniello.
Steward,
his name was.
How
Steward.
do you steward?
A flight attendant.
That'll work.
You don't call him waitress. You call him a flight attendant.
Hey waitress, can I have a beer?
Garçon.
Um,
Garçon means boy.
he just goes, oh yeah, that compartment's behind
and
us.
you don't know what fucking movie that's from, do you?
I don't pay attention to anything
Lord.
you say because it's not worth listening to.
I sound like my wife.
Meanwhile, the rescue helicopter spots debris from the plane on the surface of the water. Coincidental?
They were searching
Okay.
in that Pacific part.
Yeah, because it takes that long. What? They were down there for an hour?
They knew specifically where to look. That joke is never going to stop.
2 rescue divers are sent down to investigate the wreckage. They encounter the wrecked plane with the survivors, but are attacked by the shark from behind as the survivors try to warn them about the shark's presence.
Now watch how scary this scene is, right? I'm gonna act out a part that happens. So the diver's swimming up to the window, and they're all together looking at him out the window. And he gets up and he goes,
You
and
guys
then we see the
okay?
shark coming behind him, and they're like, And then he goes like this. Now, wasn't that rife with tension? And you're like,
Da-da-da.
the whole time you're watching it, you're like, holy fuck, guys. You're speeding up other parts of this fucking movie. Can't you speed up the part of the guy turning around? Like, Jesus Christ. It was fucking stupid. And then what should have happened, if this movie knew what kind of movie it was, is when the guy gets chomped by the shark, his little hand would have come floating up, giving the AOK symbol. But instead of just...
They took themselves too seriously when they should have just gone with it. One diver
One
is dragged off by the shark while the second goes missing.
Yeah, he's gone.
We were like, when is he going to show up? When is he going to show up?
When does your octopus show up?
When she goes down, it's coming up.
She goes down?
When she goes down. The survivors search for the second diver and are attacked by the shark, which bites off the foot of Jed. You love that.
This was great. So
it was so gory.
Jed gets his foot bit off, and then
we get a dollar store stump.
Here is the dialogue. Jed's foot is bit off. Jed says, "I can't feel my foot." Oh, I smacked my microphone.
It's okay.
He says, "I can't feel my foot." And Grandma says, "It's because your foot got bit off by a shark." And then Kyle says, "Well, I guess you're not," or no, he says, Jed says, "I guess I'm not going to be in the triathlon team." And then Kyle says, "Well, at least now you'll meet the weight bracket." And the whole time you're like, do you want me to be panicked or do you want me to be laughing? Like, what do you want me to do? So the tone of this movie is fucking weird.
I love how this summary skips all that part and goes, bites off the foot of Jed, who soon goes into shock and dies.
They were paying attention to
like,
that
fuck
scene.
This. Okay, this is where the part. Ava retrieves a bag of scuba gear from the baggage area underneath the plane, and the survivors prepare to swim to the surface.
Where's your
no
octopus?
Explanation.
I don't think that was an octopus.
There was an octopus. It was like one of those scare things, and
I didn't fall asleep.
It's just a little octopus.
I was looking at the fucking screen the same time you were. I didn't see an octopus.
So Ava was swimming under
I saw the scene
in the baggage compartment. And she was finding
was
the
she
scuba
doing a
gear.
magic trick at the same time?
Yep. She was like, hocus
It's an
pocus. Octopus. Kyle explains he's too afraid to swim to the surface, recounting a moment in his childhood where he dove to the deep end of the pool and was too scared to resurface.
We heard
Eventually, they
none of
convinced
this
him to leave the plane.
because we were talking the entire time.
This is news to us. But we didn't care about Kyle because he's an idiot.
Kyle can get fucked.
He's a closet homosexual, which is fine.
Yeah, he was.
And
He's
they
what an
kept
awful
hinting
character.
at something there.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
Nothing.
The damaged cockpit breaks off and falls into the dark abyss below the cliff.
Hey, you know what happens when there's a massive rush of water that comes in from where that cockpit broke off?
There's still air pressure from the air.
There sure is.
I
mean, technically, that bubble filled up 55 minutes ago, but
we need a scientist.
A water plane scientist.
Yep. Nana tells Ava to look after Rosa, explaining that she won't be leaving the plane as she will only be slowing the group down. They didn't really explain this at all. Just
we were talking the entire time, so we didn't pay attention.
As the remaining survivors swim through the submerged fuselage to the exit hole, they encounter the shark swimming toward them. Ava uses bubbles from her, and not the trailer park boy. Ava uses bubbles from her life vest to deter the shark from advancing closer, and the shark disappears. See? Magic. That's how it works.
Hey, remember...
Magic.
Remember they told us that sharks can't swim backwards? Not this
We
movie.
didn't... bubbles, he could have just turned around.
Yeah. Well, we saw that there was so much room for him as he was coming up the center aisle. Yeah. I'm just
above the
pointing it out
seats.
that sharks are not supposed to be able to swim backwards.
It didn't.
Of course, it
that's not physically
maybe it
possible.
ran into the octopus.
Maybe. Kyle takes one last breath of air right before being violently attacked by the shark. This was funny
Yeah, it was-
because we were just hoping for it.
It reminded you a little bit of when Samuel Jackson gets killed in the deep blue sea.
Yeah, but that's way better.
Yeah, but this had a little bit of those same vibes.
It's
Not to mention, there's Ronaldo, the flight attendant, and then further up is Kyle, which means that the shark went right by Ronaldo and then went straight for Kyle.
Yeah.
Why did the shark attack Ronaldo? Oh, racist. Because the shark is racist.
White people.
Fuck. It's becoming more and more obvious that the shark is what happens in a minute is the most obvious, but it's becoming more and more obvious. This is a super racist shark.
But this attack allowed the others to.
Not to mention, there's stump gore, and then there's a little bit of blood when Kyle and Chief O'Brien get attacked, but there's never any blood or gore in the water.
Yeah, it's
always
super clear.
crystal
Yeah.
clear.
That's because they don't want to mess the water up because they would have to pay for cleaning.
It's true.
But you probably have to anyway. Allowing the rest of the survivors to exit the plane. They find the missing diver on their way out, apparently having been killed by the shark.
Was that the missing diver?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And use his oxygen tank for air. Convenient. Ava gives the only 2 air tanks to Danilo and Rosa. As they exit the plane, she inflates their life vests and they quickly float to the surface.
And they don't get the bends.
Nope. Ava is about to exit the plane when she spots the shark heading directly towards her.
More technically, the shark spots her and comes swimming straight for her.
Without oxygen, she manages to exit through... What?
Let's not skip the important part here.
They just said
So,
plane when she spots the shark heading directly towards her. And then skips. What happened?
so she's looking, oh my God, shark. This shark literally comes up to her and is like, and then just turns and then starts going the opposite way. And then as it's going a bit further down, its tail fin goes slap.
Slaps her in the face. It
I'm like,
was so unneeded, but it was hilarious.
it was the most racist fucking shark. It looks at this black woman and is like, forget you, and goes, oh, and by the way, slap right in the fucking face. This was a racist ass shark. Racist ass.
Maybe
Racist ass shark. I knew I said that wrong. Racist shark.
without oxygen, she manages to exit through the hole just as the wreckage slides.
Racist.
Wreckage slides. It's the German coming out. Yeah. Just as the wreckage slides off the cliff and into the dark abyss below, presumably with the shark inside.
Sure.
As
Sharks can't
that's
swim,
quite
so-
the presumption. I'm just saying it doesn't
Sharks
matter.
can't swim. At least racist ones can't.
Well, maybe if it hits just right, it'll cage the shark into it.
Yep.
Not
That shark was probably like,
an
that
asshole.
girl's to blame anyway. Same with Geraldo.
The shark
guy.
obviously caused the plane to crash. Its family probably flew into this.
Yeah, like Sharknado. It probably jumped up out of the water.
It's a
I've seen the science behind it.
prequel.
The guy that made the science for air bubbles last for fucking decades is the same guy that did the Sharknado science.
As she attempts to reach the surface, she runs out of oxygen, but her life vest carries her up anyway, and she miraculously awakens on the surface, surrounded by nothing but the vast expanse of ocean.
No sharks. It's a good thing that there was only one shark,
Okay, so she passed out,
except that there were two sharks. 'cause
drowned.
I saw two of them.
and she ended up on the surface and
But she waked up again.
resuscitated herself.
Yeah. That's how
Maybe
it
she had
works.
like a pacemaker or something.
That's exactly what it did. Or maybe the shark kept on bumping into her, bump, 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 because he didn't want to eat her, and that was acting like CPR.
They could have ended it there, but they didn't. She finds Rosa's stuffed animal floating on the water, but the other survivors are nowhere to be seen. Eventually, the rescue helicopter arrives and picks her up while still carrying the stuffed animal. On board, she finds Danila and Rosa. Period.
Is that the end?
The pilot, the pilot asks if wow. The pilot asks if there's anyone else. Ava shakes her head no. We also do not know where Nana is.
No, she was still
Never
down.
showed her die.
Maybe the shark went to the back. It was like, oh, white person.
Oh, that makes sense. The shark's getting fat. Rosa inquires about...
Do you think that while he was eating, he was like, thank you for your service?
Maybe. Rosa inquires about Nana, but Ava just embraces her and they cry together. Rosa tosses her stuffed animal back into the ocean as the helicopter flies off to safety.
God.
Fuck these grandparents. You'd think you'd want to keep the stuffed animal as a keepsake.
But maybe, you know what? Because it was floating so much in that gore-covered blood, maybe it's like, maybe some of Grandpa's guts are inside this
The
thing.
invisible gore-covered blood.
You never know. Bacteria. Well, this movie stunk. Luckily, it was only like an hour and a half. It wasn't even... It had some parts where you were like, that's fun to laugh at, but way too few and far between. How many bears rescued out of blood-soaked shark water would you give it?
Bears?
The bear.
Oh, I was thinking
Fuck,
like
you were just talking about it.
cocaine bear rescued out of the water. They can swim. This movie gets a good 2.
Yeah, I was going to say 2. 2 gore-soaked bears that you throw back in the water.
There's really
out of 10.
no redeeming qualities to this movie.
No, the CG sucks. The actors suck.
The CG was okay for what this movie was.
It was like sci-fi level.
But
it was like Sharknado CG. So, it's
sure, but it just needed better scripting.
fine. You think a better script would have saved this junk?
Yeah.
No. You know what would save this movie? Well, you know what? The movie was probably saved in that, hey, we made it in Turkey. We're going to get all that tax money back because we're using it for laundering. So they made their money back. So,
Or something.
go team.
Displace the money. Taxes.
The next movie we're going to review is Dune 2, which is going to be a wonderfully good movie. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I was bored to death at Dune. So hopefully Dune 2 is better. I saved your microphone.
Maybe it's got all bear batter on it.
Bear batter?
Bear batter.
What the fuck is that?
That's when bears ejaculate.
It's like-
Bear batter.
I had bear batter on my fish the other day.
Jesus Christ. We're sorry that you've been watching this fucking episode of Watch and Complain. You can find us on our website, watchcomplain.com, or on YouTube,
Now
or
I want
on
bear
Threads,
battered fish.
or on Instagram, or on, I think that's it. Please comment on this video. If you're still watching this, what the hell are you
God
doing with
help
your
you.
life? But that was the little air pressure.
Yeah, no, we need it. Because this movie stunk.
All right, that's the end.